Well, hello and welcome to Moneycontrol. You have tuned into IPO Watch, and I'm your host, Nickey Mirchandani. Today, we're going to be talking about the initial public offering of Valiant Laboratories, which is opening up for subscription on September 27th. The company is going to be offering in, this is going to be a fresh issue altogether. There's going to be no OFS whatsoever involved in this. And it's fixed at the price band of around 133 to 140 per share. It's a 3-day bidding process like usual, and it'll conclude on Friday, September 29. The company essentially is eyeing to raise a sum of around 152 crore. And to talk more about the company's financials, growth plans, and of course, how the strategy is perking up as compared to that of its peers, we're being joined by Santosh Shantilal, who is the managing director of the company. Afternoon there. I'm going to start off by asking you about your assessment. It is a single product company, of course,
Right.
but the company intends to establish a greenfield project and is also borrowing money to diversify. Explain us more about this.
So basically, for the single product being paracetamol, we have two key raw materials. One is PAP and one other one is acetic anhydride. Earlier, PAP used to be entirely imported. Over the last 3 years, we have significantly decreased our imports to almost zero through virtually integrating it with a group company. And the second raw material, we are still sourcing it domestically from other companies. So we want to, be self-reliant in terms of our raw material requirement, and also have a diversified product portfolio and industry segment and user bases. So that is the key motto of this Greenfield project being selected.
Sure. I want to understand by when do you expect to establish this greenfield project completely, and how much revenue contribution will essentially come on account of this diversification, if at all?
It should have a asset turnover of around 2.2 times of the project cost.
So adding 2.2% overall of your turnover. Have I got that right?
No, of the capex.
So
Of the
in
new
terms of
capex, it
the
should have
top
a
line, if I,
approx 650 crores should be the top line for the new project.
okay, and that's going to be achievable by when?
FY26, the full capacity will take at least a year to ramp up from starting at Q4 this year. So it will take 1 year entirely to ramp up to that level.
All right. So 1 year and additional 250 crore, if I'm not wrong, we can add to, the company can add to the.
No, this Greenfield project will have a revenue of 650 crores, and existing business is doing around 330, 350 crores. So it will have a 1,000 crore combined revenue once this Greenfield project is completely operational.
All right. Also, since the company is, a single product company and this diversification, you expect a certain revenue projection that you've already shown in, right? So 23% of the revenue CAGR that you've achieved in FY 2017 to, to FY23, do you think you can replicate that, or it's going to be adding up more to the math?
Uh, for the current business, I think it's more fairly stable now, so it will remain flattish going forward for the current paracetamol business. So whatever incremental growth we will achieve will be through the Greenfield project only.
All right. I'd also want to understand about your existing business line. Of course, you're going to be talking about the additional greenfield specialty business that you're going to be pouring into. The company right now has a limited number of suppliers for the raw materials, right? Looking at
Right.
the RFP, the suppliers are right now concentrated just in the western region. Does the company intend to change that anytime soon? Also, in terms of your dependence, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so the dependence will be concentrated for raw materials in this region only. As I said, one raw material is already integrated with the group, so wherever their plant is, we'll get supplies from that plant only. And now, second raw material will also come from this greenfield project. So the product mix for the raw material will always, geographical mix will always be the western region, and there will be limited number of suppliers only.
All right. Also, what happens to your dependence typically from China?
Hmm.
Although you have brought it down substantially the last time I checked in the RHP, but it still stands at 12% as of FY23.
Correct.
Going forward in the next financial year, do you intend to reduce that further?
maybe this year it stands flattish at the same levels as last year, but going forward, maybe FY25, we don't feel there will be any imports. The imports can be zero in FY25.
Also, the raw material dependence completely goes down by zero in that percent by 25.
Yeah, imports will go down, yes.
So that will lead to how much bump up in your margins?
I think bump up will not be there, but inventory saving will be there. So it will be very difficult to analyze the exact saving to the company. If you are importing from China or any other country, you have to maintain certain volumes. You have to have certain number of tonnage in the entire pipeline. So that will not have to maintain. So that will be the saving to the company. So company can save in price volatility, and all those things will affect the company much lesser than before.
All right. The company also has.
Geopolitical disruptions will not be facing that much headwind from the geopolitical disruptions that disrupt the supply of raw materials.
All right. Okay. Just talking in terms, a little aerial view there, and also a bit of comparison as compared to that of your counterpart. The company has the lowest operating margin of around 10.5% as compared to something like a granules, alkyl amines. You have other players which are operating in the range of margins of 13 to 20%. A, what explains this? What is the kind of business model because of which you're seeing a little lower margin profile? And how do you intend to change that?
So currently, we are into non-regulated markets. So in long term, we plan to go into regulated markets and exports as well. So that will lead to an increase in margins. And other two players like Alkalamines and Lakshmi Organics, they are into specialty chemicals, so their margins are greater. And also this new chemistry that we are doing, the Greenfield project, will also have a significantly better margin than the current business. So it will have an impact of increase in net margins to the company once the facility is started.
By when?
This year, and the facility will start, the new Greenfield project.
And what is the difference of margins that one can look at?
It will be significantly higher than the current business.
So could you provide us some color?
In the range of two-digit margins will be there on upper side.
Okay. All right. Also, right now the company is sitting with one facility, that is the Palghar facility. That too also is working with a capacity utilization of 67%. It's dropped from FY21 from 70%, 71%. You kind of preempted this 71% to 67%.
But earlier,
explains that reduction in the utilization level, especially at the time when the one facility that you have, you've been recording a drop in that utilization. A, what explains that, and B, why the diversification now?
So earlier in FY22 and 21, we had a capacity of 6,000 tons, which was ramped up to 9,000 metric tons in Q3 last year. In FY23, Q3 in December or somewhere around that time, we ramped up the capacity. So that's why you are dividing the new capacity number by the actual production, where the plant has enjoyed the old capacity for majority time of period of the year. So that's why you see a lower capacity utilization. Technically, it's not correct.
So on
because it ramped up in the last quarter, it became operationalized in the last quarter itself. So majority of the year plant was operating at a lower production capacity, the older capacity.
So what kind of utilization levels can now be expected at this financial year?
75 to 80% is what we are targeting, given all the problems with the raw material supply. China issues are behind us, and we are now in more of a stable phase. So we are looking at a 75% to 80% capacity utilization this year.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the margin guidance that you gave us for FY25.
FY25 margins?
What kind of projections are you looking at?
For the new chemistry plus the old business, it will be on a higher side, double digit.
Higher side double digit. Do you want to put a number to that?
It will be difficult to give right now.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking to us.
Thank you.